I think it's disgraceful personally the way the pubs have been handled, the individual pub owners. I know pubs in country towns that have been in business for 150 years and they closed and they probably will never reopen again. And then you can go into bars, have a so-called meal for €9, put your name on a piece of paper and you can't even get a meal. So I went in once, I'd never go again.
What do you think of the possibility of a second lockdown? The Minister for Health has said that there could be one on the cards, and also the head of NPHET has said that we might be looking at that. What would you think of that? Would you be supportive of that, or would you think that that was a bad idea?
Non-supportive. I was very supportive of the first lockdown, but I think in general people's well-being, health, business, just life in general, I think it would be a mistake. Maybe possibly local lockdowns, but I don't know how that could actually work. But an overall lockdown, definitely not.
I think it was a bad idea. I like the idea of localised lockdowns, so lockdowns specific to, bubbles up, coronavirus bubbles. It's not happening all over. They shouldn't have to lock down the whole country.
Certainly. So you think some kind of regional lockdown like the one that we had in the Midlands would be a better idea?
Yeah, I think that would be. You don't need to lock down the whole country. I think a lot of people have lost jobs. I think we should be trying to get people working again. Like they're talking about getting rid of the coronavirus benefits. It's not helpful to have everyone on lockdown.
Bad idea. Just regions. Regions would be a lot better. I mean, I know people in my family, some of my family in Galway, they've hardly any cases. So the whole country would be crazy.
So you think that a sort of a regional lockdown like the one that we had in the Midlands would be a better idea?
Perfect, yeah, it would be a much better idea. Even if Dublin had to be doing it by districts.
I think it would be, hopefully that doesn't happen, but if it's needed, maybe that's what will have to happen. And I think that it's a serious enough situation, because at first we thought that you may get this disease and be over it, but now there's obviously been secondary issues, i.e. liver, lungs and whatnot. So I think precautions have to be taken, yeah.
If it's needed, I think they should do it, yes. It worked. It might make people realise how important it is to mind themselves. And if the government have to lock us down to tell us that, that is what they have to do.
How do you think the government has handled the lockdown so far up until this point?
To be honest, I think they've been handed a poison chalice because everybody was in lockdown and they had to abide by it. If you take schools and education, it's really suck as you see, because it's just the nature of the illness or the COVID itself. So I think they've done okay. Maybe the communication could be a little bit improved.
They're kind of not being super clear on guidelines. The fact that, buying a €13 meal is going to protect you somehow from getting the coronavirus when, you could just go for a drink.
The information's, the way it's said, it's bad, it needs to be clearer.
So you think the government should be more clear in their...
Exactly, yeah. The first round of information was pretty good, where it was a weekly, on a 3-weekly cycle, but nowadays it's just dribs and drabs,
What do you think of the government's overall handling of the first lockdown, and how do you think they've dealt with it so far? Do you think they've done a good job or a bad job?
First lockdown was good, yeah. I think it was a very good job, yeah. But it's kind of teetering a bit now. But I suppose people have just fatigued with it all.
Yeah, it was a good job, but now it's just getting too much. It's just I'm hearing about it everywhere, when you wake up in the mornings, when you go to sleep at night, when you're sitting down having a dinner, when you're sitting down having a lunch or breakfast. You're just hearing of COVID, you know what I mean?
I think initially at the start they done quite well, because they did make it up as they went along, because it was new to everyone, and I think they were on their feet and they did all they could at that time. But I think things seemed to slip then after a while. I don't know if it was complacency that set in with those in authority or in society in general, but it certainly seemed to not be as fluent and coherent as it was at the start.
I think the first lockdown was a big shock to us all, and I resented it hugely because I was 70 in the middle of it, so I wasn't allowed to go out all of a sudden. But once I got used to it and realised it was for my own good, I buckled down and got on with it. And now all my family are safe. I personally do not know anybody who's had coronavirus.
Is it overhyped, or do you think that it's sort of proportional the way the information is being presented?
I think it's possibly proportional. I think the daily briefs is getting a bit extreme at the moment. You know, maybe once a week giving the general information, because I think that is actually scaring people. And if you suffer anyway from, you know, anxiety, which a lot of people do, I think it just adds to that. And I think a more once a week direct, this is what's happening, unless one person that died 3 months ago is irrelevant. So I think it needs to be there, but maybe once a week or once every fortnight.
There's a degree of scaremongering. I think what's coming from the government is not super clear. I think what's coming from the media, it's very in your face. Like, there was an article, I don't know who did it, that was saying that there was like 9 deaths and, you know, so-and-so cases, but the 9 deaths were over like a 3-month or 4-month period. So in the headline was very, you know, eye-opening, like very scary. But then you read the article and you realised there was much more to that.
I can see why people think it's overhyped, but once again, you're back to a situation that is quite new to people. And I think that also people have to decipher what's actually been said, and I don't think that's always the case, you know, to be quite honest. That's to do with misinformation, and I'm not certainly blaming the citizen for not seeing it. If you're going about your daily work, you're worried about your children, you're worried about your job, you just can't be sitting down and taking in everything that experts are saying. That's society for you.
I don't think the scaremongering, no. I think it's needed. People don't listen. So maybe you have to be a little bit extreme to get the message across.